Feel the weight of your body in this moment. The subtle pressure where you connect with the surface beneath you. Notice the air, cool or warm, as it enters your nostrils, a silent river of life flowing into the quiet vessel of your physical form. There is a gentle rise and fall of your chest, a rhythm that has accompanied you since your first breath, a constant, unnoticed drumbeat in the symphony of your existence. Just for this instant, allow your attention to rest there in that simple, profound reality. You are here. You are breathing. And yet, the question arises unbidden from the deep stillness. Who precisely is the one that is aware of this breath? Who is the silent witness to this cascade of sensation? This entity you call I feel so solid, so continuous, like a stone in the river of time. But is it? Or is it more like the river itself, a pattern of flowing energy, a story told so consistently that we have mistaken the telling for the teller? This story began long ago, in a time before words could fully capture the raw, unfiltered stream of being. Remember, if you can, the sensation of being a small child. The world was not a collection of named objects, but a tidal wave of pure experience. The startling crimson of a ladybug on a green leaf was not ladybug. It was a vibrant, moving jewel of pure seeing. The rough texture of a concrete sidewalk under your small hands was a universe of tactile information. The booming laughter of a trusted adult was not sound, but a vibration that filled your entire being with safety. In this state of precognitive unity, there was no separation between you and the world. You were the joy, you were the pain, you were the curiosity. There was no self to protect, no image to maintain, no audience to perform for. This was a state of radical authenticity, not by choice, but by nature. It was an Eden of the psyche, beautiful and terribly vulnerable. Then, the world began to respond. A spontaneous outburst of glee in a quiet room was met with a sharp hush. A moment of unfiltered, messy anger earned a cold shoulder, a withdrawal of the warmth that was your very sun. A silly question, born of pure wonder, was met with a patronizing smile that felt strangely like a wall. Each of these moments was a small, almost imperceptible transaction. In exchange for continued connection, for safety, for love, a tiny piece of that spontaneous, authentic self was offered up as a sacrifice. It was a brilliant, unconscious strategy for survival. You learned, with the astonishing intelligence of a developing creature, what was acceptable and what was not. You began to build. You started assembling a representative, an ambassador to the world. This construct, this persona, was fashioned from the approved parts of your being. It was the smiling, agreeable child, the clever, high-achieving student, the tough, invulnerable boy who never cried, the gentle, accommodating girl who never caused a fuss. Each piece of this mosaic was a polished stone, carefully selected to reflect the light of social approval back at you. The parts that did not fit this emerging sculpture, the raw anger, the wild creativity, the profound sensitivity, the unacceptable desires, the deep-seated fear, were not discarded. They couldn't be. They were simply moved into the cellar of the psyche. This was not a malicious act. It was an act of profound, if misguided, self-preservation. You built a beautiful, well-lit house for the world to see, with tidy rooms and polished floors, and you relegated the inconvenient, messy, powerful parts of yourself to the dark, forgotten basement. This magnificent creation, this public-facing self, became your identity. You practiced its lines, perfected its gestures, and learned to believe in its reality so completely that you forgot it was a construction. Consider the young artist who learns that only realistic portraits receive praise. So the wild, chaotic abstractions she loves are packed away. Her persona becomes that of a skilled technician, admired for her craft, while the vibrant, untamed creator languishes in the unseen depths. Her success is real, but it is built on a foundational schism within her own soul. The more you identified with this curated mask, the more you feared what lay in the shadows beneath. The cellar door was locked, bolted, and its existence eventually denied. For a time, this works. The fortress of the ego provides a sense of safety and predictability. It navigates the complex social world, earns promotions, builds relationships, and gathers accolades. It is a functional and often highly successful tool. Yet, maintaining this structure requires a colossal amount of psychic energy. A constant, low-grade vigilance is needed to ensure the mask doesn't slip, to police the borders of the acceptable self. Life becomes a performance, and the body, which never lies, begins to keep the score. It manifests as a persistent, unexplained tension in the shoulders, a shallow breath that never quite fills the lungs, a knot of anxiety in the gut that no amount of success can untangle. A subtle but pervasive feeling of being an imposter in your own life, a fraud who is one misstep away from being exposed. You might find yourself at a celebration, surrounded by friends, playing your part beautifully, yet feeling a profound sense of hollowness, a desperate loneliness that no amount of company can touch. The laughter sounds like it's coming from a great distance. The vibrant colors of the room seem muted, as if seen through a pane of dusty glass. This is the exhaustion of the soul, the psychic cost of self-alienation. The carefully constructed identity, which was once a shield, has now become a cage. Its walls, once a source of security, now feel like the cold, unyielding bars of a prison. A creeping sense of meaninglessness begins to permeate your days. The goals you once pursued with vigor now seem like hollow victories. You have climbed the ladder, only to find it was leaning against the wrong wall. This is a critical juncture. The suffering is not a sign that you are broken. It is a summons from the authentic self. The pain is a messenger, knocking ever more loudly on the door of your conscious mind, begging you to turn around and look at what you have left behind in the dark. It is an invitation to descend. The encounter with what has been disowned is rarely a gentle, intellectual exercise. It is often precipitated by a crisis, a moment when the persona shatters under unbearable pressure. A sudden job loss, the end of a significant relationship, a profound failure, or a brush with mortality can crack the foundations of the constructed self. The floor gives way and you fall. You plummet into the very cellar you have spent a lifetime avoiding. And it is here, in the echoing darkness, that you finally meet them, the exiles, the archetypal energies you deemed unworthy. Here is the raging beast of your untamed anger, chained to a wall, roaring with the fury of years of suppression. You always projected this onto others, seeing them as aggressive or unreasonable, never recognizing the reflection of your own caged power. Here is the cowering, terrified child, curled in a corner, embodying all the vulnerability you refused to show the world, the sensitivity you labeled as weakness. Here is the gluttonous, insatiable hunger for more validation, more control, more sensation, an emptiness you tried to fill with external things, never acknowledging the profound spiritual starvation within. And here, perhaps most terrifying of all, is the saboteur, the inner critic, the embodiment of shame, whispering that you are fundamentally flawed, worthless, and unlovable. Your first instinct is to recoil, to condemn, to fight. You want to slay these dragons, to banish these ghosts, just as you did before. But this is the old war, the very conflict that created the prison in which you now find yourself. The path to freedom is not through annihilation, but through recognition. It requires an act of supreme courage, to simply stay, to breathe in the musty air of the cellar, and to look gaze upon the face of your own rage without judgment is to begin to understand its sacred message. It is the life force, screaming for a boundary that was violated, for a truth that was silenced. A man who prided himself on his unflappable calm, who saw anger as a primitive flaw, might be floored by a sudden, volcanic eruption of fury at a minor inconvenience. This is not a moral failing. It is the desperate cry of a part of his vitality that has been starved for decades. To sit with the terrified inner child is to reclaim your capacity for softness, for awe, for a heart that can be broken open by the beauty and tragedy of life. To acknowledge the gaping maw of your greed is to touch the hem of your deepest spiritual longing. And to look into the eyes of your shame, to bear its searing gaze without turning away, is the beginning of the most profound act of self-compassion imaginable. Here lies the great paradox. The treasure you have been seeking is hidden in the very cave you are most afraid to enter. The qualities you most admire in others, their courage, their passion, their authenticity, are often the polished gold refined from the raw, rejected, or of their own shadow. The dragon you must confront is not an external enemy. It is the guardian of your own squandered potential. The integration begins not with a battle, but with a simple, earth-shattering whisper. I see you. You belong here, too. You are a part of me. In this moment of radical acceptance, the chains begin to loosen. The cellar door creaks open, not to release monsters upon the world, but to allow the lost children of your psyche to finally come home. That yes, these exiled energies are witnessed and acknowledged, a profound shift occurs. The immense psychic force that was previously dedicated to suppression, to keeping the cellar door bolted, is liberated. It is an astonishing reservoir of vitality. The ego, the vigilant fortress guard, can finally stand down from its post. It realizes its job was never to vanquish the shadow, but to mediate its re-entry into the wholeness of your being. This process can feel like a dissolution. The solid, predictable identity you once knew begins to soften, to lose its sharp edges. There can be a period of disorientation, of feeling empty. The old stories about who you are no longer fit, but a new one has not yet been written. This emptiness is not a void, it is a sacred space. It is the fertile ground of pure potential, the silent canvas upon which a more authentic self can begin to emerge. This is not a new, better mask. It is the shedding of masks altogether. The integrated anger is no longer destructive rage. It becomes the clear, focused passion to protect what is true and to create change in the world. The integrated fear is no longer paralyzing anxiety. It becomes profound prudence, wisdom, and a deep respect for the mysteries of existence. The integrated shame is no longer a source of self-hatred. It transforms into humility, empathy, and the capacity to connect with the suffering of others. You are no longer a fragmented collection of acceptable and unacceptable parts, at war with yourself. You are becoming a unified field of awareness. The you who is witnessing your life is no longer a small, defended point of consciousness, but the vast, silent space in which all experiences, light and dark, joy and sorrow, success and failure, can arise, be held with compassion, and pass away. This is not a final destination, a peak to be conquered. It is a continuous unfolding, a moment-by-moment process of returning home to the truth of what you have always been. Feel once more the simple sensation of your own breath. The air flowing in, the air flowing out. Notice the quiet aliveness that animates your form. This is the ground of your being. The war is over. Welcome home.